Hello, friends. I hope you're out wandering through nature, exploring the natural world around you. Do you enjoy writing about your wanderings? Nature journaling is an awesome, fun way to remember all the adventures you have taken and how you felt during those journeys. If you're looking for some beautiful journals to keep track of all your wanderings, I have several available on Amazon, including some guided journals for children. Start your journey in journaling by clicking on the link in the show notes. Keep exploring the nature around you and keep journaling all your wanderings. Hello, friends, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Paul, and yes, this is the Nature Wanderer podcast, and I am out here tonight. Yes, it is nighttime. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, I told you that we were going to have a two-parter. So I was out all last week and I talked all about exploring nature at nighttime, which is a lot of fun to do. And this is actually not a continuation right now. This I am dubbing in. I am editing it in. I told you I was trying to get some of the birds are headed to bed and I'm disturbing them. I ordered a brand new nighttime flashlight. So infrared flashlights, ultraviolet light, and it helps you see things in a different way, the way that the light shines off of things, and you can spot different insects with it. And well, it came in the mail and I got out right away that same night and checked things out with it, and it works so much better than my other one. The other one works great too, but this one works so much better. It's an UV light it's 365. So check it out. I just want to talk a little bit about it. So I'm out here with my new flashlight, and it works really good. It wasn't that expensive. You can get them at Amazon or any of the other places that you like to shop, and not that expensive. So I've been walking through the field and looking at flowers with it, and I've been looking for insects, and it just shows so much more than my other flashlight. It is so cool. But that's what I just want to talk about tonight, and I am going to go back. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yep, got some insects that are actually glowing. I love the way some of the certain leaves will glow so much more under this light. And I mean, you walk by, if I just not shine anything on it, I've got my, it's a little bit light out still, so it still have a little bit of sky shine here, sky glow. And so it's a little bit light, and you walk by these leaves and it's like, okay, they just look like dark green because it is getting pretty dark. But as soon as I put the light on them, they're like a bright red. So it's pretty cool how they show up. So I highly recommend you getting out and getting one of these and exploring nature with it at nighttime. Or you can get one of the other wavelengths of light. So like I said, there's two different ones that they sell out there. So look at the different wavelengths. I told you last week a little bit about it, so make sure you check it out. So last week I talked a little bit about how there's the 395 and the 365. 365 does a much better job at seeing the insects and some of the UV glow of different plants and insects. So check it out, 365, or get a 395. 395s are a little bit less expensive than the 365s. So I'm going to end this little edit here and get you back to the continuation from last week. So it's going to seem like no time at all, but it's actually like a week later that I'm recording this from the past podcast. So have a great one. Keep listening. So I am headed back now to the bug sheet that I set up earlier, and because this is a two-part and this is the second week, if you didn't listen to last week's, I'll explain a little bit about the bug sheet. So I set up this sheet. I have a clothesline outside because I dry my clothes outdoors, and when I do that, it actually saves on electricity, propane, however you heat your dryer, your clothes dryer. I do that. I do it outside. I put all my clothes out on the line. But anyhow, we're not here to talk about my habits with drying clothes. What we're here to talk about today is exploring nature at night. Yeah, so anyhow, I set up this bug sheet by hanging the sheet, a white sheet, could be any size. I actually use a queen size sheet only because it covers a large amount of space. And I clip it with clothespins onto my clothesline. And you can do this if you don't have a clothesline, just hang a rope between two trees and hang it off of that rope. You can also drape a sheet over the branch of a tree. If you have a tree branch that hangs a little bit low in the tree, hangs out a little bit, you can hang it over a low branch of a tree. Make sure it's a white bed sheet though. I don't use the fitted ones because of the corners, they bunch up. And you can trap insects in there that you don't want to trap in there, because you want to make sure all the insects are off at the end. I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute, but you want a flat sheet, white. Hang it over something, and then I take two different lights. I have a very bright LED white light that I use. Get some rustling in the bushes here. I use a bright white LED light, very bright, it's a spotlight, and I shine that at a majority of the white sheet. And then I also have a black light, okay, an LED black light. So ultraviolet light we're talking about, you have the black light on another section of the sheet. So that's the way I do it. If you want to hang two sheets, one light on each, that's fine. Different insects you'll find are attracted to different colors of light. So the white light will attract some, the black light will attract other species of insects. So I hung this sheet over my clothesline, tacked it up with some clothespins, and then I shone these lights at it. I turned them on a while ago. And then I came out and walked through the field. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, listen to it. I come up with some great tips on exploring nature at night. But headed back to the bug sheet now. And like I said, I set it up a while ago, that bug sheet. And it should have some pretty good insects because it's pretty dark out here now. So as I'm coming along, and I can actually see it, it's not too far off my bug sheet, you will see all the insects on the bug sheet. So that's where I am right now, and I'm coming up to the sheet, and we will just sneak up, not to scare, I'm just kidding. You won't scare the insects off. No, you will not scare them off with your voice. You won't scare them off with anything, but you don't want to come up to the sheet with a bright headlamp on. Okay, I have my red light on as I'm coming up because that doesn't seem to affect them, but a bright white light, if you have a headlamp on, they're going to come flying right at your face. They're going to come right to that light. And you may wonder, why do bugs go to light? Why are they attracted to light? I mean, the I was told when I was a kid, honestly, when I was a kid, I was told that insects, so we got quite a few insects on our bug sheet here. That's pretty cool. Yeah, the later, I mentioned last week, the later it gets in the night, it seems the more colorful, the more interesting insects, but you get some really good ones even earlier in the evening. But anyhow, when I was younger, I was told that insects that fly at nighttime use the moon as a guide, and the stars, and that's how they navigate. So they can actually fly towards the moon, and when they see a bright light, they think it's the moon, so they fly towards it. That's what I was told as a kid. True? Not a bit. Nope. Not true at all. Okay, so they're not flying because they think this light is the moon. I mean, do you think all insects just stop flying on a cloudy night when there is no moon? Or maybe it's the new moon, there's no moon to see? No. They don't do that. So it has nothing to do with that. Now, scientists have been studying this for years, and honestly, they haven't had a clue. Okay, nobody really knows, at least they didn't. There's been some recent research that has actually, I hate to use this term, because it's shown a light on the subject. So they have done some more recent research that has kind of narrowed it down, or they think this is really why. But some of the things in the past that scientists have believed insects, why insects were attracted to light, for escape. Okay, they would go to the lights that they would not be in dark areas. So basically they're going up to this light so that predators, okay, they can see when the predators are around. Now, I'm thinking that's not a good theory. This is just my opinion here. But to me, that's not a good theory, only because, well, if they're in the light to be able to see the predators, well, the predators can see them better. That's just, like I said, my thought. So predators that are hiding in the dark, you know, that's what they're trying to get away from. That was one of the theories, which they have basically proven not true. The navigation thing, using it to navigate, no. That's not true either. I already talked about the moon and navigating. Some insects, they believed, were heading to the light on cool evenings because they wanted to get some warmth from that light. Well, usually if it's a cool evening, they're not out anyhow. So the insects were not trying to get more warmth. Possibly. Okay, so this one has held up a little bit, but no, they're even proving that one wrong too. Another one that they believed, okay, that scientists used as a theory was that insects, they have very sensitive night eyes, okay, so they have to be able to see in the dark. Otherwise, they wouldn't be flying around at night. And if you turn on an artificial light, they're blinded by it, which causes them to fly erratically and crash into the light and crash into objects near it. Possibly, I know if you're out and your eyes adjust to the darkness and all of a sudden someone shines a bright light at you, okay, and then they turn it off, it's like you're blinded for a little while. You can't see what's around you. Or even if they keep it on, that light right in your eyes, can you see where you're going? No. Okay, because your eyes adjusted to that darkness. Now all of a sudden, you're blinded. So, possibility, but they're actually believing, no, that's not really it either. Now, another theory that they had was that they went to the light because, hey, other insects are attracted to that light too. So, number one, protection in numbers. And number two, oh, maybe they're the type of insects that are carnivorous and eat other insects. So, hey, here's your food source here. Yeah, so, but mostly they believed it was gathering in numbers for protection. But I always see, like, around my lamp on my front porch, when I have that on, I'm sitting out on a nice warm evening, enjoying the weather, and I see the moths flying around the lamp. It's different species of insects, different species of moths. So companionship, mating, I doubt it. Is it, that they have protection in numbers? I don't know, maybe, but I don't think so. Most scientists are actually saying no. Now, another theory was what they call positive phototaxis. You see, what this means is that most flying insects have a positive photoactive response, meaning that they're attracted to open, bright spaces and away from dim places. Okay, that's just a natural instinct for them. So that's why they're headed towards bright places, like, a bright light that's on. Now, I did say, oh, there's a pretty one. I've got some on my sheet here. I'll get back to this in a second. But on my sheet, I'm actually seeing right now that I've got quite a few moths here. There's a lot of little insects, too. The UV light, the black light, that light seems to be attracting a lot of the really small insects. There are a few larger ones, but the very bright white light, that seems to be really attracting the moths, the larger moths. I've got this one here that's kind of bright red and black in color, kind of neat looking. Very, very fuzzy antenna. The antenna, in case you didn't know, if you're trying to figure out, is this a moth or is this a butterfly? Okay, moths have fuzzier bodies. Okay, it looks like they're really fluffy and hairy and fuzzy. Caterpillars, very smooth bodies. No, I'm sorry, not caterpillars, butterflies. Very smooth bodies. Whereas the antenna also. The antenna on a butterfly, usually just one stalk, I'll call it, coming up, with usually a ball on the end. Sometimes it doesn't have that. With a moth, the antenna almost look like feathers. Okay, very frilly feathers. So that's how you can tell the difference between a butterfly and a moth. So usually you don't see the butterflies at nighttime. Okay, it's usually the moths. Butterflies are usually out during the day. So your bug sheet is going to attract moths, not butterflies. So anyhow, I've got a bunch of really neat looking moths here. There's some cabbage moths. They're all white in color. Kind of a smallish moth. But I do have some larger moths here. There is a katydid here also hanging out. Katydid, they have they're greenish in color, long legs, very thin body, and almost looks like a pea pod, for a body. So yeah, getting some pretty interesting insects here. Anyhow, back to what I was saying about why insects are attracted to bright light. As I was saying, that more recently there's been some studies, and there was a study just this past year at the the Imperial College of London. So in London, England, the Imperial College of London, they did a study there where they discovered that by watching these insects and watching them fly around, and they did several different studies with it. One was an indoor controlled study, and they had certain insects they used. They tried to get them from different families of insects, and they actually took slow motion photography, slow motion video of them, and they were watching their behavior, and they discovered as the insects were getting close to the bright light that they're actually flipping over. They were turning themselves upside down, which kind of confused them, and they lost their navigation skills, and they often would just fall from the sky at that point. So they wanted to check it out in the real world, so they did some studies where they observed insects out in nature, so not in a controlled environment, but out in nature. And they did the same thing where they were studying them with slow motion cameras, and they did the same thing there too. Now, it wasn't all species, but it was most species of insects that were coming to these bright lights that did the same thing. They would get close to this light and they would flip over. Like, what's going on here? As they were doing that, the study, they also noticed that if the insect was flying over the top of the light, that's when they would flip over the most. If they're flying next to the light at the same height as the light, they tended to fly kind of at an arc. They'd turn their body a little bit, they'd angle their body, and those are the ones that seem to go around in circles. So they're almost like circling the light. And the ones that went under, they seemed to do much better at controlling their flight. Now, this actually kind of made them understand more about these insects and what we call the dorsal light response, okay, which is it's basically a reflex. It's kind of a shortcut, I guess you could say, for animals to work out which way is up and which way is down. If an insect's flying and there's a little bit of night glow, okay, they can tell, well, the light is up above, the darkness is down below. So up is where the light is. So when they're coming in and all of a sudden they're flying over a bright light, it's like, well, wait a minute here. Bright is supposed to be up. Light is supposed to be up. So that's why they were flipping over and getting confused, and they couldn't fly upside down, and they'd end up falling down to the ground. Sometimes they'd crash into the light. So all this was going on because of this response. This is what we call the dorsal light response. So they couldn't work out which way was up, and they couldn't keep their bodies upright because of this. So this dorsal light response is essentially where they're seeing the light, up above. So every time they get close to a bright light, what happens is they flip their back to it, because their back is supposed to be facing the sky, which is always lighter in color, and brightness, not color, sorry. It's always lighter in brightness. So that's the dorsal light response. Back to the light. And when they get close to these bright lights, that's when they flip around, and that's when they sometimes get into trouble because they can't navigate. They can't tell up from down, and they're not made to fly upside down. At least most insects aren't. So what's going on here? That's what's going on. That's why they're attracted to light. Now, once again, not all insects. Not all insects. Some insects go towards heat, okay, which is why, you get mosquitoes headed towards your body, because they can sense the heat and they know that the blood source is there, their food. If you have a bug light I shouldn't call it a bug light. If you have a bug zapper, please just get rid of it. Get rid of it. Recycle it, throw it in the trash. Don't give it to someone else. No, just get rid of it. If you've been thinking about getting one, don't get it. Okay, these bug zappers, all they're doing is they're killing the beneficial insects. Yeah, they're killing the moths, the ones that are attracted to the light. And then they go in there and they get zapped and they die. Mosquitoes, they're not attracted to the light. So the insects that you want the light to kill, not doing it. Nope, not doing it. So you just wasted your money on a beneficial insect, you know, the pollinators. Yeah, you're killing them off with these bug lights, these bug zappers. So please, please, please don't use them. Mosquitoes, they're attracted to heat. But back to my bug light here. The bug sheet I've got some pretty interesting insects here. So I'm noticing that the insects at the blacklight section, they're a little more, I should say a little less active. So they're a little more mellow. They're just kind of hanging out on the sheet, not flying around as much. So they're just hanging out on the sheet pretty still. I've got a few that are actually sitting on the light itself. But on the white light, the bright white light, they're flying around that light like crazy. I've got some mostly small ones, but I've got a few moths flying around it too. Every once in a while they will land on it. And on the sheet, there are some just sitting there on the sheet, but most of the ones on the bright white section with the bright white light, they're actually moving around a little more. Okay, so they are crawling up the sheet. There's one up here at the top actually crawling along the clothesline. There's some down at the bottom. Oh, speaking of the bottom, please be careful where you walk. Okay, don't go up to your sheet with a bright light on your head. They'll attack you. But if you have a flashlight, watch the ground. Okay, watch the ground. You don't want to step on the bugs. I mean, hey, they're just here doing their thing, and we're confusing them with this bright light. Be careful not to step on the bugs, okay? Insects, I know it's a generic term, bugs, but try not to step on them. Like I said, some of them are beneficial. Others, you may not like, but hey, they're beneficial for something. So anyhow, these insects here on my bug sheet, I'm kind of walking back and forth from side to side because I want to see them all here. They're pretty cool insects. I've got some good-sized moths here. Like I said, the katydid is still hanging out. They've got some, oh, there's a cricket on the sheet. Usually don't get many of them. Yeah, some really small ones. I'm not sure what they all are. I'm not an insect expert at identification, but I do know some of the insects here. So here we're getting quite a few. Yeah, these cabbage moths, got quite a few of the small cabbage moths on here. They seem to be hanging out more on the blacklight side. I do have some over on the bright light side. So you're going to get an overlapping sometimes. You'll get some that are, you know, on both sides. Some will just be on one side, but, you know, it all depends. Like I said, stay up late if you can. I'm pretty tired. I'm going to be heading to bed soon, but stay up late if you can. I found that the later you go, the more interesting the insects are, but that may not be true. Maybe that's just, I mean, that's in my experience. I don't usually stay up real late, but when I do, I seem to find more and more really interesting, more colorful, larger sometimes, insects out. So maybe it just took them a while. Maybe it's just my yard. I don't know. So now, after I'm done, just want to let you know this. After I'm done with my bug sheet, what I will do is I will take it down. I will shake it off really hard to get all the insects off. The reason I do that is I don't want to fold up my sheet with any insects in there. So I shake it off really well. If this is one of your good sheets, I actually have a sheet that I use. I have a bin with all my bug night equipment in it. But if you're just grabbing a sheet off your closet shelf and you're going to be putting it on the bed, make sure you wash it too. But I make sure I shake it off because I don't want the bugs coming inside. I want to make sure all these insects are outside where they belong. Make sure that you do this safely. And if you're not sure you got them all off, no, maybe you want to just hang that sheet in your garage, until the next morning. So tomorrow morning you can open it up. I usually do that where I'll just take it, I'll shake it off really good, take it inside to my garage, and then I will just hang it in there, and then the next morning I'll just look it over and make sure there's no straggler insects on it. So hopefully you enjoyed learning about bug nights and why insects are attracted to light, the new studies that have come out about it, that dorsal light response. So if anyone ever says, and I've seen it on the internet, that they're attracted to light because they think it's the moon, they're fooled by it. Not true at all. Not true at all. Okay. Some of the other ones, like the heat, possible with some of the insects. Like I said, they're still doing a lot of research on this, just out of curiosity, if for nothing else, but they still don't know exactly why. But this most recent bit of research really clarified a lot about that dorsal light response and how a lot of the other theories are not accurate or couldn't be accurate because of this. So anyhow, I'm going to enjoy looking at some more of these insects here. I'm probably going to be up for another hour or so just looking at these insects. But I hope you enjoyed learning about it. Set up a bug sheet this summer. Enjoy, bring the kids along. They love the bug nights. But yeah, enjoy sharing it, and make sure you rate and review the podcast. Don't forget to go to the show notes. I always have links and all the information about the podcast in the show notes. Here's one that's really neat. It's got like black wings on it. It's beautiful. I've got links to the show notes. Support the podcast. Go to my Ko-Fi page and support the podcast. Helps me to buy more equipment to do the podcast and to keep the podcast going, keep the website going, keep the Nature Wanderer going. So please, I really would appreciate any donations that you can make to the Ko-Fi page. I hope you have a great evening, or if you're listening to this during the day, have a great day. And above all, keep exploring the nature around you. Thanks, everybody.
Did you know that plastic is made with oil, a fossil fuel that pollutes the environment? And did you know that only about 15% of all plastic is recycled into new products? Wouldn't it be awesome if we could live our lives without plastic so that we could stop harming the planet? Well, there's a company that wants to help you do just that. Life Without Plastic sells products that will reduce or eliminate your dependence on plastic. They have a large selection from toothbrushes to food storage containers to drinking straws, all plastic free. And it's reasonably priced. So what are you waiting for? Check out all these great plastic-free products and help save the planet. Just click on the link in the show notes to find out more and to start your journey to being plastic-free.